Kobbie Mainoo was a genuine star in pre-season. He really was. And United's pre-season sort of started to derail as soon as he was injured. And I wonder whether or not they'd have actually pulled the trigger on Amrabat if it wasn't for the injury to Kobbie Mainoo. Now, with Kobbie Mainoo coming back into a midfield which has got Scott McTominay, already has one backup. We've got Mason Mount, we've got Bruno, we still have Donny van de Beek, Eriksen, Casemiro. There's actually quite a bit of depth in midfield, if not quite the level of quality one would hope for a team that can potentially push on and win the title. But in those preseason games, we saw a player that was mature beyond his years. He was active and actually sensational for a number of individual reasons. He consistently looked like he was the standout player on the pitch, consistently made excellent decisions, offered multiple elements to his game, and throughout 90 minutes, I actually think it's worth taking a look at what we might see out of Kobbie Mainoo once he returns, which seems to be on the horizon rather than the distant future like it was sort of painted out to be. Number one, I think the first thing that comes to mind when you're watching Kobbie play is the composure. He was ice cold in terms of the composure in pre-season and against genuinely good opposition as well. If I had to ask you who was the £100 million talent on the pitch against Arsenal, you wouldn't have been saying Declan Rice, because Kobbie Mainoo outshined him in every single department. We saw him totally boss that game. He looked quality against Leeds, and he started really well against Real Madrid before suffering the injury which has kept him out since. His ability to get his head up and find time to slow the game down, that's such a rare trait for a youngster. You see youngsters coming in, cutting about the place, putting themselves around, smashing into people, making an impact that way. You don't really get to see young players that come in and go and slow, compose, just have hours on the ball because their awareness is so good, because their first touch took them into the perfect position to be away from the nearest opposition and not be getting pressed. Just the ability to just turn around, get his head up, see what else is moving. It was so enjoyable, so refreshing to see a player that was coming in and playing with experience when he doesn't have any. Seeing him return to first team action in competitive conditions for me is going to actually allow us to measure just how good he is, because pre-season can be different for a number of reasons. Opposition might have said, leave the kid, let's focus our attention on maybe trying to slow this guy down or press here or whatever. Maybe let's track Mount and leave the kid alone a little bit. Mate, you don't know what the circumstances was in competitive fixtures. If he's a threat, no one's going to leave him alone. They're going to deal with him. I think it might take him a little bit of time to get back to that confidence. I don't know if he's going to start immediately, but I think once he does, I think he can really prove to be a very, very dangerous asset for us. 2, physicality. Now, I think one of the reasons that we've seen him thrust into first team action so soon is because physically he's already mature. He's massive, and he's got physical attributes that are quite unique for such a young footballer, and it just shocked me how effectively he was using his body on the ball and being able to roll people, to be able to shield the ball effectively. Now, he's tall, but he's not the tallest, and he's strong, but he's not enormous. And, he's got a nice low centre of gravity that allows him to get out of trouble because he's agile enough and balanced enough to be able to use himself and the ball, get it out of the way. He's able to sniff out trouble quickly, close down players aggressively. He's shown himself as someone that can get to shield the ball. There was comparisons with Pogba because of him doing that. And I think there's a little bit of validity to them because the way Paul Pogba did it is a similar way to the way he's doing it. But, there's a lot more to each other's game. They're so different. If you're doing a Venn diagram, there'd be this little bit of their game which overlaps. And that's about it, really. But, he is very aware of the distances of the opposition players as they're coming into him, and he uses his body really, really effectively, which is something that not enough midfielders do, but the very good ones do it. And he impressed me with the decision-making of when and where to put himself in between the opposition and the ball. And if he continues to do that, there'll be loads of times that he ends up buying fouls, and that'll slow the game down for us and do the right sort of stuff. Number 3. Game time. So Ten Hag has shown throughout his career that if he trusts a young player, then that young player plays. He's done it time and time again, and we saw it with Kobbie Mainoo himself on pre-season. And he's obviously the most recent example of that. But Ten Hag seemingly was ready to push him to the moon. Starting him against the likes of Arsenal, against the likes of Real Madrid is, he's not done that just for the lad's confidence. He's done it because he thinks he's good enough. I don't think Ten Hag plays with his own team's results like that just to make some young lad feel special. I think in a time of turmoil for the side, you might really see Kobbie Mainoo step in and get real valuable minutes, rotate alongside the likes of Casemiro and Amrabat, and maybe even Mount and Bruno, depending on what's required of him or what's required of the side at that time. If United need to go a little bit more pragmatic with how we play, you've got an option in bringing Kobbie Mainoo to play potentially alongside Amrabat, alongside Casemiro, and have a real trio blocking up the defence in front. I think that could be quite positive for us. Again, it just gives us that little bit of depth, and he's not going to be required to start 50 games this season, but as long as he gets into the point where he can be trusted, and he gets to the point where, he's playing today instead of Casemiro, and no one's asked, what a massive compliment that can be for him. And there'll be games this season where that is the right thing to do. Now, obviously, you probably wouldn't do that at Anfield, you wouldn't do that at the Etihad necessarily, but there might be games this season where, and maybe even in Europe, probably not buying away, but there might be opportunities where we go, actually, no, we're going to give the kid a go and see how he does. I'll have Casemiro on the bench, give him the night off.
I want to give a big shout out to our sponsor, Exter. They're the brains behind a wallet revolution that is about to change the game. Imagine a wallet so slim it could slip through the tightest defense, yet spacious enough to hold everything you need. Exter's signature trigger mechanism grants you instant access to your cards, no more digging through a pile like you're searching for lost treasure. And for those guardians of privacy, we got your back. Thanks to built-in RFID blocking technology, your sensitive information stays under lock and key, even in the face of crafty digital thieves. But wait, there's more. Exter's eco-commitment is solid. The wallets are crafted from sustainable materials like vegan, Italian leather, and space-grade aluminium. And now, the grand finale, there is a solar-powered tracking device. Your wallet takes the lead with its own GPS-powered game plan. Just a bit of sunlight and voila, 3 months of tracking power. And there you have it, the ultimate wallet lineup designed to meet your needs head-on. It's slim, it's snappy, it's secure, and it's even solar-powered. A wallet with a hat trick like no other. If you're ready to elevate your wallet game, click the link in the description. Get 25% off when you use the code Howson at checkout. Don't let this unbeatable offer slip through your fingers.
Number 4, versatility. Now, versatility for a midfielder is one of the reasons why you see midfielders get as many minutes as you do, because there's generally 3 roles, 4 sometimes, that you can play in a midfield. The opportunities for central midfielders come a lot thicker and faster than they do perhaps for a young centre-half. You often see midfielders, because of the distances that they're required to run, they get subbed a lot more frequently, they get rotated in and out a lot more frequently, and because there's generally 3 midfielders in a team, there's more options. If you're a left-back and you can only play a left-back, you're waiting on that one left-back to either get injured or the gaffer to give you a go. In midfield, you've got multiple opportunities for something to happen. So he's fortunate in that sense, and because he's versatile, allows him to, maybe he wouldn't be the greatest number 10 in the world, but he could play a little bit more advanced. He's more than likely going to rotate in with the defensive midfielders because that's what sort of suits him a little bit more. So alongside Casemiro, Amrabat, McTominay, now you've got Mainoo in there as well. He's also quite progressive with the ball, so he could potentially see himself rotated in with Amrabat or Eriksen, or maybe Bruno if Bruno features in the 8 a little bit more. And he's got something there because he has got some ability in an offensive sense. In pre-season, if we learn anything about him, there is not really any wrong place for him to step into. We saw him sort of taking up a bit of an auxiliary right-back position as United looking to line up in a bit of a 3-2, him sliding into that right-back slot and then sliding, defensively as an actual right back in a back four, but when we're in possession, he's actually occupying the number 6 position and looking to progress the ball forward. Suits him down to the ground. There isn't a wrong spot for him to sit in because he's so technically gifted. His decision making is so good. He's so composed under pressure, and physically he's a bloke. You can put him in this team in multiple different positions and be pretty confident that he's going to give you a bit of a job in that role. Now, eventually, he probably will become a specialist in one of those positions, and that's where you'll really start to see him kick on. But while he's still a teenager and learning his craft, it makes sense for him to go and dip his toes into all of these different areas. I mean, I remember seeing Roy Keane lining up at right back for United on more than one occasion. So it definitely doesn't hurt for a real number 8 to be able to move around and add different tools to his game when it suits. Number 5, patience. Even with all the praise that I've just sat here and given Kobbie Mainoo, the excellent pre-season performances, I don't want people to be expecting too much from him. I want him to be able to come into games and impress us without the weight of expectation that he's going to. No, he's very young. Young players promise nothing but inconsistency. You've seen it with Garnacho this season. You've seen it with every other young player that's come through. As a group of supporters, I think it's on our responsibility that yes, we're going to demand the very best, but also be understanding that sometimes players are inconsistent. He's coming into a team that isn't firing on all cylinders. Premier League football is absolutely brutal and competitive, and if he gets valuable minutes, we'll see what he's about. You can't rush him back from an injury because that just exacerbates injuries. Obviously, it's on the coaching staff to identify when and where the opportunity is to bring him back into first-team football. But I can't wait. I am genuinely excited to see. The arrival of Amrabat takes a little bit of the pressure off him. Playing alongside Casemiro should take a little bit of the pressure off him. He should be able to step in, hopefully when games are won, show us what he can do. Let's give Casemiro a 20-minute break. Throw him in. Can you replicate what Casemiro does? Well done, lad. And then you move on to the next game. We're going to take Amrabat off. 15 minutes to go. We're 2-0 up. No problem. Kobbie, go and do what Amrabat does. Let's see you move the ball forward and collect it off the defence. And you've done that? Well done, lad. Just rounding him out. This is all part of the training and developing of him. And, he might save you having to have a full, total Casemiro replacement in a couple of years. Maybe you need to go and spend 100 million on somebody else. Maybe you don't. But I'd rather see us, if he was good enough, I'd rather see us use someone from our own academy like that. But anyway, like I said, physically, quality, composure, he's potentially got it all. But there's been a lot of players that have had the potential, not quite fulfilled it. So let's hope that Kobbie can be one that continues to surprise us once he gets back into the team. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. See you in a bit. Hey, thank you for watching the video. If you are new around these parts, then don't forget to subscribe. My channel is proudly supported by my community on Patreon. If you'd like to get a little bit of extra content, a Discord group, meetups, five-a-side games, weekly podcasts, behind the scenes, and even an occasional bit of transfer news as and when I get it, then for the price of a pint, you can show your appreciation for the content that we make and get some goodies for doing so as well. Check the link in the description or click the button right here. You'll also find all of my socials here too if you want to follow me on any of those platforms. Nice one.